Peace. Sharon Gappo. Oh, thank you for stopping by, Sandra Peace, Gen Xtra. I appreciate it. This is the Sinners Live. And I actually just came for my second viewing of it. So thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you coming back, those of you that have. And because I had to reschedule because I was still in the movie. If you have not seen the movie yet, there are going to be spoilers because we're just going to be talking about scenes. If you have seen the movie, I saw it for the second time. It touched me even deeper the second time. It was amazing. I went with my sister this time. I just loved it. I love Ryan Coogler. I love the work that he has done. Thank you for stopping by, Sandra Peace, Gen Xtra. I appreciate everyone that has been in here and has come back. My moderators, Mama Bees, Capricorn Flowers, Sharon Galbo, thank you for stopping in as well. Hopefully Trish 612 will be able to come in. Hello, Sheila Joe. And let's see, everyone that's coming in, thank you so much. Inez Martin 01, thank you so much. I want to go see it again. Yes, I want to see it. I'll probably see it again. I've seen it twice, but both times in traditional theater. They have it on IMAX, and then they have something called 4D, where your seat actually gets rocked and stuff like that. But I was jumping today, even though I knew what was going to happen. It's my sister's first viewing, my second viewing. But they are still, the way the movie is written, they're still, they're jumps and things. So it's an amazing movie. It is. I loved it so much. And who has actually seen the movie? Let's see. Inez Martin has, because she wants to see it again. Hello, Trish 612. That's my sister. I viewed the movie with her. That's also one of my moderators. And thank you, Capricorn Flower, reminding everyone to hit the like button as they step into the room. Thank you so much. I'm going to pull up a few notes that I already had, but then what I'll do is you can also put in scenes. I'm sure I'll forget something because it's over a 2-hour movie. And everyone, if you haven't been yet, you know that you have to sit through all of the credits, and there's 2 sets of credits. So you're going to get a special surprise after the first set, and then you'll get another special scene after the second set. And it's absolutely worth watching and waiting to see everything that happens. Thank you, everybody, for coming in to my, I would say my impressions, my first set of impressions, my second set of impressions to the movie Sinners. Church 612 confirms. I can watch again, too. So good. Inez Martin 01 has seen it. Yes, because you want to see it again. So everybody knows that this is a Ryan Coogler film, and it's also written by him. So he wrote it, and he also directed it. I don't have the news in front of me now, but he made the movie was a $90 million movie that they invested in because he has such a great history with his movies. He has said, I saw an interview with him, he's made over $2 billion for the movie companies. And now he is in a deal. It's not a unique deal. He said he's not the only one to get this deal, but the deal is on a lot of people's lips. It was in Variety magazine. Deadline, one of the movie magazines, and they're saying, oh, this deal could be the end of Hollywood. And you know what that's about. It's because he is getting it. He's been earning since the first dollar. So that is something that's unusual. So the movie cost $90 million to make. Worldwide, it's over $160 million already, just in a couple of weekends. Even though it has already been out a couple of weekends, it beat a blockbuster, The Accountant. So usually when a new big name comes out, it takes over the other one. No, Sinners is still number 1. So I'm really proud of him. And I'm just singing his praises because my mind is still blown from what I just watched. Glam Rocks, thank you for stepping in. You're going to see it soon. You don't know. Yeah, Glam Rocks, some people feel that it's a vampire movie. There are vampires in the movie, but it's not a vampire movie. I would give it more of being a period piece. I like old movies. There is an old movie. It's based on a book. It's directed by Gordon Parks. It's called The Learning Tree. And it takes place in maybe like 1920 or something like that, about this boy Newt and his friends. And just they follow them through a day and things that happen. And then it's just like a period piece. Color Purple is another one I would compare it to, just from the scenes, how the people are dressed, the point in time. And To Kill a Mockingbird, something like that. And then it's not a vampire movie, but there are supernatural and there are vampires in the movie. So, and if anyone doesn't want to see any spoilers, just click the like button and you can be team replay after you've watched it. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit, how it starts. And I'd like to drink some water first. I brought snacks and everything into the movie. Concession is a ripoff. I would use concessions last time, but my sister and I went by Walmart this time and got our own snacks. So that's how we do. I even got something from the hot bar. My sister was like, we are a trip. But I mean, come on. If you can get something that you prefer, that's what you would do. So I had soda, chips, egg roll, candy. Okay, so this is Sinners. Sheila Joe, you're going to go this weekend and catch the replay. Thank you so much, Sheila Joe. I appreciate it. That's my friend Sheila Joe. She's a great traveling buddy. Thank you. I appreciate you stopping in. I thank you so much. So everyone knows it stars Michael B. Jordan, and he is an amazing partner to Ryan Coogler with the work that they've done of the Creed series. Zinzi Coogler is Ryan Coogler's wife, and they have been together for years. She's currently carrying their second child. I saw a picture of them. She looks so gorgeous. I'm sorry, I'll get to it in a minute. I just like to build a background. But he shared a story that he always wanted to be a filmmaker. And at the time when he was first starting, before Fruitvale Station, his first work with Michael B. Jordan, he needed a piece of equipment to kind of edit and things like that. And both of them were film students. They didn't have any money. And she ended up surprising him with the program. I forgot what it's called, but it cost like $300. And she gave that to him. And he said that she is an amazing gift giver. She always gives people something that they can utilize, that they need. So I love that for him. And he just turned 40 years old. This is a young man, y'all. And he already has 5 films under his belt. And this one is the #1 movie in Hollywood, making all this money worldwide. And then also what I love about it is that it is a movie about the ancestors. It is a movie about music. It's a movie about current day things that happen. We can see why things are the way they are now. It's just amazing. So I'll read some of my notes. Michael B. Jordan is in a dual role. He's playing 2 twins. They're Smoke and Stack. Elijah is the twin. Smoke is in blue. He's a very serious face. Poker face. Smoke does not play. I believe he's the older of the twins, even though they share the same womb. Smoke is the first twin. Stack wears this kind of like a cool Stetson type hat. He's always smiling. He's joking. He has gold fronts. We see them when they first pull up in the car back into Mississippi. They're small town in Mississippi. Stack is standing on one side. Smoke is standing on the other. That's our introduction to them. And one of them lights a cigarette and they give it to the other. And the two of them, the way they shoot the scene is the two of them standing next to each other. And we know Michael B. Jordan is one person, but these twins, it's seamless. And that is amazing work from him and also from Ryan Coogler. It's amazing work. Also opening, we see a ragged person walking down from a car into a church, and he reaches the front, and the preacher says, put down the guitar, son, put it down. It's not even a guitar. It's just this piece of the handle, and the figure's all beaten up, scratched on the face, just ragged. And so then it goes back to the day before. So we find out that Smoke and Stack, the 2 twins, Smoke is the one that he's named Elijah. We find that out later. And the other one's called Elias, but we call them Smoke and Stack. So, you know what? There's a rumor that Jonathan Majors was some early talks to be in this movie as brothers, but I'm glad he's not in this movie. I don't think he has the range. I don't think this movie's so special. I don't want someone like him in it. So Michael B. Jordan, I put him up here. I love him. I'm glad he's playing his own twin. So that was divine intervention. So we find out they had some type of checkered Chicago history. They are from Mississippi, but they went to Chicago. They've been all over the world. We find out they're veterans. They come back. They drive up. They're picking up I'll call him their little cousin because he's about 18, Sammy. Sammy jumps in the car. He's amazed with everything. They look at him. They smile. And they picked him up from church. The father had a conversation with Sammy, and he was like, one of these days, the devil's going to follow you home. And Sammy told the father, he said, I'll be at services in the morning. So I'm thinking this is, I can't tell if it's Friday night or Saturday night, but he said, I'll be at the next services. So Sammy, He plays music in the church. The father is the preacher. His mother's in the church. We find out he has all these little siblings. They're in the church. They make up the choir. So it's amazing. Smoke and Stack pick him up. They get in the car. They start talking to him. He was like, "What's it like in Chicago?" And they told him, he said, "A black man can go anywhere." Maybe he said a colored man. I'm not sure. I can't remember the terminology. We know the territories have changed. He said, "Chicago is just like Mississippi, but it's just a bunch of tall buildings is the difference." He said, "And I'd rather deal with the devil I know." So they kind of like getting us ready for what's going to happen. They go to downtown. I think it's called Clarksburg, Clark something, Mississippi. It's a real town. So they go downtown. They had picked up a truck. Smoke and Stack came back to Mississippi with this truck. We don't know what's in the truck yet, but we see Smoke go into the truck and pull out a beer. And then he and also, let me see. I'm getting Smoke and Stack are twins, and it's one person, but you can still get them mixed up. So one of the twins, I'll say one of the twins till I remember which one it was. They're going to start rounding up stuff that they need. And there's another scene that happens first. They're going to start a juke joint, and they're going to round up the things they need for that. So actually, before they pick up Sammy, we see a scene where the two twins are waiting at this old mill, and this fat Southern Mississippi, stereotypical looking sheriff, fat white man, he shows up, he's chewing tobacco, spitting all over the place. They're carrying a leather bag. He takes them inside, shows them the place around like he's the realtor. And then they were like, "Well, what's on this floor?" He doesn't tell them what's on the floor. He just spits on the floor. "You boys, I don't know if you're going to buy this place or not." And they're like, "We have cash. There's no boys standing in front of you." Smoke is talking to him. Smoke doesn't play at all. He's one with the blue, like kind of like a Kango cap, like a blue cap pull down. He's like, there's no boys in front of you. And we ready to buy this place. So Stack kind of like lightens the mood a little bit. And he said, "You two of y'all are twins?" Stack said, "We're cousins," because they're identical. So this is a stupid question. So they give him a stupid answer. He said, "No, we're cousins." So they give the guy the money, and he's still looking around. So Smoke told him, "We bought this place, and if I see you and any of your clan buddies," Sheriff talk about there's no clan here anymore. "If I see you and your clan buddies around ever again, I'm going to shoot every last one of y'all." That's what Smoke told this man to his face. So Sheriff, he put his hand on his hip. Smoke puts his hand on his hip. Stack put his hand on his hip, and they open their jackets. They've got weapons, knives, knuckle things, everything. The twins do not play. So the sheriff ends up leaving. Smoke and Stack. Let me go back to the scene. They actually picked up Sammy after the scene. So Sammy, when they pulled up, they didn't speak to the uncle. Sammy just says, I'll be back, Dad. I'll be back for service." He gets in the car with them. And the father also, he keeps Sammy's guitar at the church. So he gave Sammy his guitar because Sammy's like, I'm only off one day a week. I'm going to go with them. We're going to hang out or whatever. So he lets Sammy go. They get in the car. Sammy's asking him about Chicago. They tell him it's just tall buildings, but I guess you still have the same type white people up there. It's just, they're not as obvious. So when they go to the downtown area, Smoke ends up, he tells Sammy and Stack to go ahead and watch the truck. They pick up this truck, and we don't know what's in it yet, but we know that there is Irish whiskey is one of the things that's in it. So Sammy and Stack are gonna stay with the truck. Smoke goes to the downtown area because it's just an old little Southern town type thing. They enter this, Stack goes into this store. Before he goes into the store, there's a little girl sitting. She's about 12 or so, a cute girl. She's sitting there. He said, "Come here." She came over there to him. He said, "Do you know the Smokestack twins?" She said, "Yeah, I heard of them." He said, "I'm Smoke." And the girl gets like scared. And he said, "You're not in any trouble. I need you to watch this truck. If anything happens, anybody's staring too long," he said, "I need you to lay on the horn." So she said, okay. She agreed to do that. He said, "I could pay you 10 cents. She's like, "Oh, great. This is 1932, Mississippi." She said, "Good." He said, "No, we talking numbers. Numbers have a conversation." So she's kind of confused. He said, "You tell me a number back." She said, 50 cents. She's just throwing numbers out because it's per minute, y'all. 50 cents. He said, "I could do 20. She's like, 25 cents. So he lets her win. They come up with the price. He said, "Sit inside the truck." She sits inside the truck. He goes into the mercantile store, local store that have everything, and it's a store that the black people shop at. There's an Asian man in there. He's of Chinese descent. He's Asian. He knows Stack. He's like, oh, Stack. He's glad. I mean, it was Smoke. He said, oh, Smoke, it's good to see you. When y'all come back from Chicago? Now the brother's not with him, but we figure out when you see one, you see the other. He said, when did y'all come back from Chicago? He said, we just got back. Said, what are you up to? What you gonna do? We're putting together a juke joint. I need to get everybody together. I need a sign. And then he says, then we hear the horn start beeping. So he runs outside. These two guys are trying to rob the truck. Stack shoots one of them in the butt. And then he's like, how you doing? He knew the guy. And he was like, oh, Stack, I didn't know that was you. And she said, you lying. I told you that was their truck. He said, well, I thought you were lying because the twins are legendary, apparently, around the town, even though they've been gone a few years. He said, I thought you were lying. So the other guy that was trying to rob the truck too, he's laying on the ground, like trying to get away. Stack shoots him in the leg. So both of them are all wounded and everything. And then he goes back into the mercantile to finish conducting his business. So he tells the Chinese guy, his name is Bo. He tells Bo, we're going to start a juke joint. I'm going to need, somebody's going to cook. We got Irish beer. We have Italian wine. They're going to have food. They're going to have a band. He's going to pick up somebody called Delta Slim. We haven't met him yet. He's my nephew. He's one of the best blues players around. And we just going to have a good time. It's going to be our juke joint. And so Bo tells that they have a little daughter. I think her name was Lucy. Go get your mama. So the little girl walks right across the street. Y'all, there's another store. It's also owned by the same family of Asians, but the mother works in that store. So this is downtown Mississippi, 1932. I looked this up and it's true. There were Chinese people in Mississippi in 1932. So they were allowed to own stores and stuff, but they couldn't serve black and white in the same store, but they're on the same main street, just across the street from each other. So the mother, her name is Grace. The daughter gets her. Grace comes in, daughter mans that other store. Grace comes in and she gets right up in Smoke's face. She said, there's two men outside that have already been shot. And because she knows he's trouble. And Bo is kind of enamored with him. He's like, yeah, they're back in town. They're going to do a juke joint, this, that, and the other. And she's just looking at him. He said, well, I need you to make a sign for me. She said, well, what size? He tells her what size. And then they negotiate. She said, well, I'm going to it's a rush job. I need $15, this and that. He was like, I can give you 10. She's 12, 14. He said, throw those flowers in and it's a deal. So the lady automatically negotiates. So they decide that this is what they're going to do. Let me read some comments to see if anybody's putting it in. Inez Martin 01 says, MBJ, Michael B. Jordan played those roles. He did. Hello, TNTG Mom. Thank you for stopping in. She's speaking to everyone. Mama 59 Works didn't get a chance to watch it yet. I told people this was going to have spoilers. A couple people left. Mama 59 Works. It's up to you. I know how you watch movies. You'll probably see it a couple of times. So we'll see what you're going to do. Okay, I think I'm going to quicken it up a little bit because it is a long movie, but I wanted to just set up the background of how they got in town. So they round up their young cousin, Sammy, the blues legend. They made a deal with the Asians. They got their sign. What else did they get there? That's all they got from there. Stack and Sammy end up going to the train station. They have to pick up Delta Slim for the music. Delta Slim is Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo is amazing. He's from Crooklyn. He's from The Five Bloods with Spike Lee. He's done a lot of Spike Lee stuff. He's West Indian Archie in Spike Lee's Malcolm X. Delroy Lindo played Delta Slim. He's sitting there playing, I think he's playing the harmonica. And Stack and Sammy walk up. Sammy has his guitar. Stack approaches Delta Slim and says, I want you to play for us tonight at the juke. This is Saturday night, y'all. It just dawned on me. This is Saturday night that the juke is happening. This is Saturday morning that all this stuff is happening. So Sammy promises his dad he'll be back in church for services Sunday. So he offers Delta Slim $20 to play for him. Delta Slim's like, I already play somewhere else. I'm guaranteed $10. I've never heard of your juke. And you might only be there 1 or 2 weekends. So Stack ends up opening the Irish whiskey. And it's in that one of those old brown bottles. He let him smell it. And he's a real alcoholic, y'all, because his mouth was watering over that beer. He was like, oh, this is Irish whiskey. He said, I'll give you $40. And you can drink all the beer you want. if you come over to the juke and play for us. So he agreed to do it. He said, this is Sammy, my little cousin Sammy is one of the best bluesmen, and y'all gonna be playing together. So we see this white woman standing there staring at Stack. She started to get on the train, but when she heard Stack talking about, everybody come on down to juke joint, we got fried fish, kind of selling the place. And then Sammy and Delta Slim are playing together. Sammy said, there's a white woman staring at you. And Stack's like, you sure she white? He looked around. And we first meet the character Mary. She's dressed like an old this is 1932. So she just has on like a little hat and dressed like a proper white woman for those times. She comes over. What are you doing back in town? He's like, we back in town. We opening a juke joint, this, that, and the other. Y'all, this is making so much. Let me take this off. So opening a juke joint. So we find out that she said, my mother died the day before. She and Stack are lovers. We find out that her mother raised Smoke and Stack. And we find out that she left Mississippi for Arkansas. She's a married woman, but she still wants to be with Stack. He told her, I told you to stay away from me. She's like, I would have stayed away from you, but you did it to me so good. I'm never going to be away from you. So she's just telling him to his face. She cussed him out a little bit too. So then Mary left. I don't know if she got on a train or what, but Mary left. Stack. Now we have in the car, Stack, Sammy, and Delta Slim is in the car together. There's a scene, y'all, where they were driving down this Mississippi dirt road and they came upon the Black and Whites crew. All Black men, of course. They're doing work on the side of the road. Picture the movie Life. And Delta Slim is looking at them and he was like, hold your head up, hold your head up. So they was like, hey, Slim. And the person watching them, y'all, fired a shot in the air. He just spoke to them. He fired a shot in the air. So Sammy was like, Delta Slim, you know them? He said, I know all of them. I said, how you know them? He said, his friend Rice and him, they had been kind of traveling around and they're musicians. They didn't have jobs because they're musicians. They just play anywhere. They got picked up by some sheriffs. The sheriffs put them in jail. They kept their instruments. They played so good that the people were like, we're going to take you on the road. Y'all, back in the day, even now, those people were wilding. So they picked these two men up for vagrancy, charged them, and then they're taking them on the road. They were taking them to rich people's homes and make them play. They're musicians. And so he was like, and we played so good. He said, he called them Peckerwoods. Them Peckerwoods were almost on beat. Sometimes we switch it up just to kind of play, to mess with them. But he starts to get kind of sad when he's telling the story. And Sammy said, well, Delta Slim, where's Rice? He said, after we got paid, he was going to leave and go to another state. He wanted to open a church. He was buying a $2 plane ticket, but he made the mistake of taking out all his money. And when he was buying the ticket from the person, and they lied on him. They took his money. They took everything in his pockets. They found all the money that he had. And then they lied and said he robbed a white man for the money and raped his wife. So that is death in Mississippi. They end up killing this man. Delta Slim let us know that they cut off his manhood. And Delta Slim is, he's carrying his instrument with him as well. He starts, they start, and he's got his guitar, so they go along, And he also, Sammy starts singing a song to them and Stack is like, woo! He's showing that gold teeth. We're going to make some money. So while he's doing that, Smoke is alone. Smoke pulls up to this little shack. There's a beautiful Black woman in there. She's doing business with these two little girls. They get their little thing for their mom. They leave. It looked like Monopoly money they paid her with. She's like, make sure you make this home. This makes it all the way home so your mom won't get on me later. They said, okay. So Smoke is, he looks at this little area outside. It's like a little grave. And, he stops there and looks at it. Then he goes in. The person's name is Annie. She's got her jewelry on. She's got her bag of, I don't even know what to call it, around her neck. It's for protection. And she had bones. She had thrown bones. She lights candles. She's from Louisiana. We find this out in the story. Annie's from Louisiana. So Smoke comes in. They're eye contacted. They give each other. Okay. We met Mary and Stack were ex-lovers. Annie and Smoke are lovers. This might even be her husband. We didn't get details about this. But she said, well, what are you doing back? What are you doing back from Chicago? He said, well, my brother Stack and I, we're here. We're going to open a juke joint. And then he said, why are you taking this? He didn't call it monopoly money. Why are you taking this plantation money? She said, that's what they have. He said, you can only use this in Mississippi. And she said, I ain't going nowhere. So that lets you know what the drama was between them. He's a person that was not going to stay in Mississippi, and she's a person that was not going to leave. So they were just looking at each other. And she said, well, he said he don't care anything about her amulets or whatever that was she had on her. She said it kept you safe, you and your crazy brother, all over the world all this time. He said, why couldn't it save our baby? So they tell us what happened, right? Why couldn't it save our baby? She said, I don't know. He snatched it off. This is the first time that he does this in the film, but he does it again. He snatched his protection off and gave it to her. She took the protection, goes over to her table, and she starts to pray over it. It looks like she was replenishing it or something. I don't know. So they were having a little conversation. There is a very intense, very quick, I call it a love scene between the two of them. And I was just thinking, this is a store. What if somebody walks in the store and catch them? But they didn't. She put her hand right on him, y'all. She put her hand on his heart first. And then she said, your body didn't forget me. She put her hand on his man. She said, your body didn't forget me. So they had this scene together. And then we leave that place. We go back to where Stack is. Stack, Sammy, Delta Slim, they're showing up. They go to the juke joint. Okay, let me go to my notes and see where we are now. So they had already bought the old meal cash. We already know that they're going to start this the first night of the juke joint. Now, when Sammy is in the car, Smoke is back in the car with them. Also, Delroy Lindo. They mention a place called Mound, Mound, Bayou. This is a real place, y'all. And what Mound Bayou is, it's a town founded by a Black doctor, some other freed slaves, and it was in historical Black town in Mississippi. It was destroyed by whites. Okay, so it was a Rosewood type situation in Mound Bayou, but it came up because Smoke. We find out that Sammy is beloved. Everyone thinks Sammy is just the best. I think he's the oldest child, the preacher's wife. We find out that Smoke and Stack's dad are no good. Sammy actually, he's young enough where he can ask questions and people don't get mad. They just answer. So he opened the conversation in the car with them. He said, you told me when I got older, you would tell me what happened to your daddy. I'm older. And then he said, what happened to him? He said, your daddy, and my dad were brothers. He wants to know. So Stack said he used to beat us, mostly me. And Smoke took care of it. So we find out that Smoke killed their father. I don't know if that's why they left, but Smoke killed their father. So also when they pulled up, they didn't speak to the preacher. That was his brother. And then he asked him, he said, does he beat y'all? Does he beat you? He said, no. Talking about his father. Does he beat the little ones? He said, no, he's a good man. And that's when Mound Bayou came up. He said, your dad's always been a good man. He said, don't try to keep doing music. Go to a place like Mound Bayou. My brother and I tried to go there, and they knew our father. They knew he was so evil. They weren't going to let us stay there, but they'll let a decent person stay there. So we find out everybody who meets Sammy kind of have him on a pedestal. And Sammy's a beautiful boy. He's played by this young man called Miles Caton, and his mother is a gospel singer, Timony Figueroa. She also has a sister that sings too. But them two young ladies, they can sing. And he used to sing I've seen him sing at T.D. Jakes' church before. You can go on YouTube and find like the Potter's House. If you put his name in, it's Miles, spelled like Miles, Miles, and then Caton. So he's Sammy. Okay, so there's another scene. There's a little shack. We see Choctaw Indian, and it tells us on the screen that these are Choctaw natives. There is somebody that looks to be like a chief or someone in charge, a medicine man type person. They have a wagon that they have, and there's two beautiful horses with that white stripe down their face, like palominos, the people on the horse. Before that, this is right before the scene with the natives, y'all. This person's all burned up and disgusting looking. It's a white man. He looked like he'd been beaten and burned and dragged. He runs up to this little shack and he bangs on the door. And this looks like a farmer and his wife opened the door. I'm not gonna call them white trash, but they were poor, very poor looking sharecropping type farmers, type struggling type white people. They opened the door and this man goes, I was out, with my wife and they hurt her and they beat me. And them Indians, they stole my money. I got some left. And he showed them the money. They were holding a gun on him. They were like, nah. He said, don't let him get me. Don't let him kill me. He has these 2 gold pieces. They end up taking the money and let him in because he's a white man. So he goes in the house, and this following scene is with the Indians. They come in, they knock on the door. So the lady comes, she's still strapped. She comes to the door with her rifle. What do you want? He said, there is a man that might have came by here. He might be hiding on your place. If he's here, you need to let us help you. We still have time to help you. And she let them know, we haven't seen anybody. So her husband's come. He said they have not seen anybody. The husband didn't come to the door. She came to the door. They haven't seen anybody. He said, we can help you, but God help you if you let him in. She lied. They didn't see anybody. The Indians got on the horse, got back in the wagon. Somebody speaks in their native language like, we need to get out of here before the sun go down. And they took off. That's the last you saw of the Choctaw. That's one of my favorite scenes because it means so much about how you're supposed to handle people. And the Choctaw, they came up, they warned, she lied, and they left. I'm going to see if anybody. Yes, Inez Martin 01. He places those flowers on the grave. Yes, the flowers that he negotiated for in the deal. When I told you he walked up to the place, he stopped at a little place that looked like the grave, places the flowers on the grave. We find out that's their child. We find out that it's an infant. Hi, Cece. Thank you for coming in. Thank you so much, everyone that is in here. So they believe the man and they let him in. The Choctaw came, tried to say something to the lady. She left. She goes back in her house. Bag. She's getting no answer. It's dark now. They haven't turned on any lights yet. She goes in the back room. Bag. The guy that she let in, he's not as messed up looking, but he's sitting on a chair. Like everything's all right. And she's like, Bag. Her husband's on the floor, laying on the floor, covered in blood. Y'all, this man bit the husband down the side of his face, everything. And his eyes are shining, and he looks a little bit better, but still like demonic and bloody. And then we find out, he told his name, he said his name was Rennick. We find out he is killed Berg, and he said, don't worry, don't be scared, we're all gonna be together. So the lady's screaming. Then that scene goes, and we go to a happy scene where they're actually in the juke joint. Everything that they were talking about that day, I love Ryan Coogler did this, how he did this. Everything they talked about that day, getting everything in order for this big party that night. And they had one scene where Smoke was like, we might need to wait till next week. And Stack was like, we got everything already. We just gonna start tonight. This gonna be the grand opening. And he was like, if we don't have everything together, it could be a bust. It's not gonna be a bust. This gonna be the best night. But y'all, they got everything up and running. Annie was in there cooking. That was the other thing. When Smoke and Stack, before Smoke and Annie had the love scene, he let her know, we're gonna have a juke joint, and I want you to cook. And she was like, that's the only reason you came by. And he was like, you want me to tell you that I love you and all this stuff, which they did. He didn't have to say it. You could see the affection and the love between them. But Annie's there cooking, y'all. She got her little velvet dress on. Everybody's looking good. Grace is there. That's the Asian lady. Bo is there. Bo set up like a card table. They had gambling in there. They had the sharecroppers in there. I love how Ryan shows like the different people in their clothing. Sharecroppers is like barely patched up in overalls. There was one scene, we picked up one more person, Cornbread. He's this big guy called, I think his name is Omar Miller, Benson Miller, something like that. But he's this huge guy that used to play on CSI Miami. He is a sharecropper. He was working the field with his wife, and Stack and Sammy went by to get them because they needed a bouncer for the door. And Omar, he's Benson out there working with his wife, and he's like, this is my wife, Therese. Like, how you doing, Therese? I want your husband to come down and work with me. He's like, I'm not getting into none of your stuff that you got going on. And the wife, so Stack kind of insulted him. He was like, if you make more money than that, then your wife will probably let you really do it to her, this, that, and the other. And he was like, oh, you come from Chicago, talk like that, I'm gonna have to kick your ass. And this guy is huge. Stack is just laughing. So the wife's like, how much money are you talking about? So now Therese has her husband's ear that this might be okay. So Cornbread, he ended up taking the job. Cornbread gets in the car right with them, and they go to a juke joint. So we got Cornbread at the door. They picked up Delta Slim, who's on music. Sammy is on music. He was always going to play his guitar. Guess who shows back up, y'all? Mary, Stack's love from the train station, who Stack told her to stay away. She said she can't stay away. So Mary comes. Annie, as a matter of fact, when Mary first tried to get in, she's like, let me in. And I call him Cornbread. That's what they call him in the movie. Cornbread said, I think there's other places that you could go. And she said, Cornbread. And he said, Little Mary? So he recognized her when she started speaking. And he said, yeah, come on in. You family. You grown now. And they get a hug and everything. So we find out that the whole town knows Mary. So that's why she ended up marrying a white man all the way in Arkansas. Not all the way, but neighboring state. In Arkansas, because she can pass. And Stack did love her and want her to have an easy life, which Black people were not having an easy life then. But honestly, we look like we were, working hard, of course, as always, but they were having fun. That juke, I would have went to that juke. I told my sister, it looked like so much fun. They had the collard greens on. They had fish frying. They had the card game in the back. You could either get the Italian wine. You could get the Irish beer. They had whiskey. They had corn liquor. And then they had music. Oh, there was also this beautiful little heart-shaped dark woman. Her name was Pearline, right? She was standing there watching Sammy play his guitar at the thing. And Sammy was like, I think I know you. You sing? This was earlier in the day. She said, yeah, maybe I do. And he said, well, will you stop by? I'm going to be playing tonight. Because Sammy can play. I'm going to be playing tonight. She said, I'm married. And he said, happily. Like, oh, okay, Sammy. So they bring Pearline shows up that night. And Sammy sees her. Is like, is your husband here? Pearline said, no, she's here by herself. So Pearline is a trip, y'all. She shows up without her husband a lot. So Sammy's got his eye on her. Thelma, welcome in. Thank you so much. Also, One Crafty Sister, thank you so much. I'm speaking about Sinners, the movie. We're going to talk. Some people have not seen it. Some of them have left. But if there's scenes or anything you want to discuss or anything you thought, we've already ended up talking about Smoke and Stack coming back in town, Sammy hanging around with them getting Delta Slim, Cornbread, everybody, Annie, Grace, Bo, everybody's at this juke joint for this big opening party tonight. So Pearline, we find out she sings, she comes, her and Sammy have this little flirt thing going on, and both of them are so cute. All right, let me see if there's any more comments. Just everyone speaking to each other. Sammy was too funny. Inez Martin, he was. And also, I told y'all that Stack was riding around with Sammy while Smoke was getting the business together. And Stack, you know how little cousins, they're really curious. And big cousins, sometimes big cousins are not the best people to be with them. And he was like, I'm going to tell you how to keep a woman. He said, you find that button. And then if you lick on it, he said, then she won't want to leave you. He said, but what he said, use a certain amount of pressure. Like he said, you know how when you eat ice cream downtown, you don't want it to end too quickly. Sammy's like, yeah, Sammy listening to his cousin, all this stuff Stack's putting in his head. Sammy's like, he's in awe of Smoke and also Stack. So that part was funny. So Pearline is there, her and Sammy flirting with each other. Mary ends up buying Sammy a drink. They're sitting together at the bar. Cornbread is on the door as the people are coming in. Everything's going great. What I love, Sammy and Delta Slim get called to the stage. And Delta Slim said, well, tell him who you are. Sammy, he has his guitar. And he says, they call me Preacher Boy. I'm the son of a preacher. And he says, my name is Sammy. He starts strumming on his guitar. Sammy, he said, there's a song that I wrote for my father. I share it with y'all. So Delta Slim, even though he's the blues legend, he's a drunk around the town, but they know that he is into music. But music kind of hurts him because of what he went through when he was wrongfully arrested, and then the friend lost his life. So he's like passing the bar to Sammy, and the whole place is looking at Sammy. And they also had a place above because it was a mill, which I like. Smoke and Stack were up. They were looking down, watching Sammy, and Sammy starts to strum. And he said, "I wrote this song for my father." And he said, "I love music." I can't remember the song. I want to share this with you. He said, and I wish that I could stay here, but I lied to you. And he's strumming this song. The song is about the father wants Sammy to kind of stay in the church, take over his church, be a family man. And Sammy has got the blues in him. No, we don't know from where, just from living. He lives in Mississippi. Sammy is talented. He's amazing. He's so gifted. Everybody loves him. and he's just playing. He's strumming his guitar. So Ryan Coogler has this scene set up, and I heard him say this. He set it up. You know the Good Times picture where everybody's just rocking like they're in a juke joint? Supposedly JJ painted it, but it's an artist called Ernie Banks, and it's on the wall of Good Times. The dancing picture. One crafty sister, she says, oh, yeah, Sammy was too funny. Inez Martin 01 says Sammy took notes on how to work his tongue. He did. And he's going to work it on Pauline, too. We seen little Pauline with her cute stuff show up. And she married, y'all. She don't go nowhere with her husband. One crafty sister. Sandra P. Yes, I truly enjoyed the movie. Sammy loved his voice, and he played that guitar. Yeah, Miles Caton is his name. I'll put it in and pin it. Or Troy612, if you find his name, put it in the chat, and I'll pin the comment. Because he's a singer. He's amazing. So Sammy's playing, and as he's playing, Ryan Coogler has a scene where this music that Sammy is playing, we see kind of like African griots. Now, we're still in the juke joint, but you see like people in traditional African dress come through. They're jamming. They're playing their music. We're here chanting. Grace goes in and gets her husband, Bo, off the card table. They start moving. The Asians come in, they got their music going. This is all in one scene within the juke joint. They start from the music way back in our culture, ancestors, they're playing. And then he brings it on up. You see like afros, they're in the 60s and the 70s. You see the 80s. The B-boy comes in, he starts rocking. You see the 90s. You see a little girl in the corner, she's twerking. But then you see the African lady doing her thing. All connected, all throughout time. And Sammy is calling all of this. Then we see these red eyes, right? Remick and the two trashy farmers show up, the man and wife. She got a little old banjo. He got some kind of Irish banjo, and he got the brother. He's not a brother, he's a husband, but they could all be related. We don't know. They walk up to the door. Cornbread stopped them at the door. He said, there's other juke joints. There's places for y'all to play music. You're not able to come in here. And they're like, he's smiling. Oh, we love music. We got money and we love music and we just want to come in. And they were like, no, you're not coming in. Somebody else came up to the door too and was like, no, this is going to be a problem. We don't want y'all. Inez Martin, his voice is so unique. It is. He sounds like, that's how I know. I mean, things just continue through time. It's ancestral. That boy's voice, y'all listen to him. And also the movie, stay through 2 credits, because one of them, you're going to get to hear Miles sing again. He's also on YouTube. He has some songs, but I love how they covered all the music genres. Yes, Inez Martin, and why I did too. Yes, Miles Caton is 20, but he sounds like an old man. He does. That's how you know that, I mean, nothing is new under the sun. So it's amazing. So the 3, remember now, they were born. None of this had to happen. Here they come walking up to the juke like they belong there. 3. Cornbread is at the door. No, there's places where you can go. So Smoke comes up. I think Mary came. Yeah, Mary did come up. Annie came up there looking, because it's always a problem. Stat came up too. Smoke's like, y'all got to go. You got to go home, but you're not coming in here. And so Remick is like, well, we got our money. We just want to play music. We want us all to be together. We believe in equality. All that stuff, they talk to us, y'all, before they get started, right? They're asking now. They're very friendly. They're smiling. And the wife is like, yeah, we just want to come in. We want to play. Cornbread's like, no, you're not coming in here. And then Stack's the good time twin. He wears the red fedora, and he's always smiling. He's on the gold fronts. If they come in or whatever, Smoke's like, no. What if they step on somebody's foot? What if somebody look at the wife too long? You see how when you add certain people, trouble starts, you know? So he's like, no, they're not coming in here. Let them go. So they were like, okay, you know, they're disappointed now. They're dejected because here's one place that they can't go, even though I know they got 5, 6 banjo playing juke joints. So we're going to leave. We're going to walk real slow. And if y'all want to catch up with us and let us come back, we will, you know, so they pitiful. They leave, they playing. I can't remember that song they were singing because it didn't sit right with my spirit. One of them. Trish, do you remember anything about that song? Thelma, Miles sang Every Mountain when he was younger, I think 12. Thelma, I think that's what I saw. If he was singing it at the Potter's house, that meant his voice, that child, the voice in that child, and my sister said he's 20 now. Ooh, he can sing. Yeah, the Irish, they had this song, I can't remember, but it was some banjo playing mess. I don't like it. I don't have nothing against it, Riverdance and all that, but that's their culture. That's fine. But in the juke joint, we were doing something different. Okay. So they take off on the road by themselves. So how many of y'all think he stayed gone? They didn't. Mary, this is where I got upset with Mary. She tells Stack, oh, Smoke called Stack aside. He got, I want to show you something about these books. He was already counting the money at the door because Smoke is business. They're twins, but he's supposedly the older twin by, I guess, a minute or two. And also he's taking care of Stack his whole life. And he killed the father for Stack because the father used to abuse Stack. So he pulls him aside. He's like, these are the books. This top figure, that's the amount of money that we're taking in. Stack starts smiling. He said, that's the plantation money. Yeah, these people have these sharecroppers working. Slavery's gone, but they got sharecroppers working the land and then paying them in kind of Mississippi money that they can only use at the company store. They don't own the land. They're working on the land, and they never get paid quite enough to be able to buy the land or move off the land. And they get paid with money that they can't take anywhere else aside from Mississippi. So the one twin, he's showing him this, and this is the cash money. He said, by my calculation, we're gonna be out of business in 2 weekends. So I guess they figure like, okay, we're just gonna have this big grand opening anyway. So let me see. No, some old 20 country mess. My sister don't remember the words either. Yeah, that's not something. When y'all see the movie, those of you who haven't and those you have, you know what I'm talking about. It's not memorable at all. And then the man had the nerve to say, we're playing perfect. And it was technically perfect, but it didn't move you. It didn't get into you like when Miles was singing his song. It doesn't do it. Okay. That's why they always gonna come where we are, because we got the rhythm, which they love and they want, but that blues, they don't want that. They don't want that part. But let me not get too deep into that. Anyway, the three take off down the road, and we know what happened to them, right? But they're looking like regular people now. They have their instruments. So when after Stack and Smoke had that conversation, Mary tells Stack, she said, I'm gonna take off down the road and see what they got. Maybe I'll get some of that money and bring it back to you. So we find out Mary's street, right? And Stack was like, if you don't get out of here with that, he said, I might have one of these field ladies drag you out. She's like, I beat up every bee in here. You the one taught me how to fight. So Mary know how to code switch, because I don't think she talked like that around her white husband or up in Arkansas. So she convinced Stack to let her go down the road after these three, right? After they left. So we see Stack give Mary a weapon. She puts it in her little dress. She goes up down the road. She don't have to walk too far. These three are sitting on a doggone log singing a little song, whatever. When Robert had a song, something. It was. And I think Ron Coogler played it too long. Thank you for the Irish culture, Ron Coogler. I didn't want to hear that mess. I didn't. Mary sits down with him. They start talking to her. Oh, that was so sweet of you to come check on us. This is Remick, the head one, right? He's all smiles again. And something about him is engaging, y'all. Thank you for coming to check on us. We just want all of us to be together and sing. And they kind of strumming. They try to entice Mary. She knows something ain't really right, but she don't really know. And also, I forgot to mention, when those three came to the door, Annie was looking at them like, there's something about them that I don't like. Annie, Annie is Louisiana, and Annie had a feeling about her. And also, Sammy didn't like it either. He was just looking at them. So there were certain ones that had that discernment and just didn't know. Mary was curious, but she wanted the money more. So she's sitting down talking to them. And he said, we just want to come in. We just want to sing. We dance. We're just about music. We're all people together. You know how they talk. They're still talking that talk. So Mary's got a look on her face. Remick's looking right at her. He says, well, I can heal you. I can help you. She's like, I don't need healing. I don't need help. And he's like, well, there's something in you. Remember, Mary just lost her mother. So, and this is just the devil, y'all. She said, I just lost my mom. He said, and the other guy's like, oh, losing a mother, that's a hurting thing. If I had met you before this, I could have gave her something like everlasting or eternal. You never would have had to lose her. And then that wasn't comforting to Mary. She's like, I don't need anybody to save me or everlasting. She get up and start backing away from them, right? Because now she knows something's up. I don't remember if Remick's eyes shined or not, but you can tell that he seemed demonic to me. Mary caught it, right? So she turned away. She tried to get away. So she pulled her little gun out. He's like, you don't have to do that. She started walking back toward the juke joint. That's the last we see of Mary and those three right then. Then she gets up to the door. She smiled at Cornbread. Cornbread was like, oh, where you been? Oh, come on in. He lets her in. Delta Slim comes to the door. They're still partying inside. Sammy's up there on the guitar. They're playing some kind of like fast music now. Pearline, before Sammy's playing, Pearline and Sammy, y'all took off to a back room. He put Pearline on this little table or something. Why this lady had her whole little pretty dress hiked up. And he was like, I just want to taste you. I was like, oh my goodness. And she said, let me wash up a little bit. He was like, no, that's all right. So that they have their little scene together, whatever. Stack gets up to the door. He was like, oh, my little cousin. You know, Stack was the one talking that talk. And the cousin was just taking it in. So he testing out what his cousin told him. And then right then, something else, I think what was jumping off at the door was Mary coming back and them letting her in. Let me see if anybody else. There's not laughing. Yes. Yeah, that Pearline was something. I don't know what kind of husband he had to let his little pretty wife. She was all over that time. She was at the train station earlier. Now here she back at the juke joint, still by herself. So I don't know what was going on. But the two of them had gotten together. Later on, we see him playing music. Pearline's up there singing, y'all. She's just purring like a cat. She's just singing and singing some kind of little old song. Yeah, he wanted to taste the grown woman. He sure did. Yes, he did. And why they hold your comment for review, Inez Martin? We grown. I'll put it right up there. Okay, let me see what else. Some old twaggy country mess. That was my sister said she don't remember what he was saying. So, and you know, the funny thing about it is, excuse me, I'm starting to sweat now. The funny thing about it is, those being the times, we look at Sammy as if he's a kid. He had a conversation with Smoke. He wants to leave that town the same week. And that's when they brought up Mount Bayou to him. Try to go to a decent place. Go to Mount Bayou. They'll take you. And he said he's leaving that next week. So I would figure he's about 18 or so. Now that I think about it, even though Pearline's married, she could have probably been that same age because they had that attraction to each other and people did get married younger. So she might be the same age. Her and Sammy had instant attraction and instant a pull toward each other, which I thought was really sweet. Even though she cheated on her husband, I thought that was really sweet. So Cornbread had to go and use the bathroom. Delta Slim's supposed to watch the door for him. He teasing, why can't you use it right here? Cornbread like, man, get out my face, whatever. So Cornbread goes, to me, too far to use the bathroom. He's like, he walked way on out. And he's in the midst of these trees and stuff. He hears, Cornbread, calling him by name. He's looking around. And then he turns around. We see eyes and he's gone. So now we know that there's supernatural, there's vampires and stuff out in the woods. So he comes shuffling back up to, I'm trying to figure out what happened because this starts to be like a lot of different things happening at once. Mary was already let back in by Cornbread. Cornbread went out to use the bathroom. Slim is watching the door for him. Sammy has commandeered the stage, him and Pearline. Pearline up there singing. She's slinking all over the stage, y'all. Her and Sammy are tripped. So they're still playing music together, but they play the music on stage now. One Crafty Sister don't understand why he walked so far out. I didn't either, One Crafty Sister. Especially, I mean, that's one thing about the South. It's dark. We used to go down south in the summers, and it just used to be dark. So we weren't going too far away from the house. So if you're a boy or you're a man, use that bathroom right near the house. But he was all out in the woods. He did walk too far out. So we see him, the three take over him. Del Orlando or Delta Slim's at the door. Pearline and Sammy are on the mic. I'm trying to figure out the sequence of things. Mary had already come back in. Mary comes back in looking the same, but her and Stack had a little back and forth and him trying to make her go away, her saying she's not, but they hadn't really done anything physical yet. This Mary, as she walks back in, grabs Stack. She's real handsy with him. She kisses him. She's real hot for him now. She pulls him aside and he was like, what's going on with you? So then they're in this back room. The juke joint had like a boom boom room, y'all, because we had Pearline and Sammy in there. Now they on the stage. Now you got Stack and Mary in this side room too. So Stack is on the floor. Mary's leaning over him. Y'all, she's drooling. And Stack is like, you drooling? And she said, you want some? She drew right into his mouth. And then Sammy, there was a fight going on. The Smoke was trying to break up. One man accused another of stealing from him. The other guy just like, I just want to leave. I didn't steal nothing. pulls a straight razor on Smoke. Smoke's like, oh, so now you're going to cut me? He's like, oh, I just want to get out of here. I didn't do nothing. Smoke ends up tuning him up. He beats him up. And Sammy goes to get Smoke. And Smoke's like, Smoke, I need you to go get Stack. When he went to go get Stack, Sammy tried to open the door to the boom boom room. Like when Sammy was in there with Pearline and Stack just listened and kind of laughed, he didn't interrupt them. Sammy just kind of opened the door a little bit, and he saw that he said he thought that Mary and Stack were making love, but we know that something else was going on now because we know Mary came back and she had already been turned, right? So when Sammy went back and he told Smoke, he's busy right now. He's like, I told you to go get him. So they all go to the room. They open up the door. Why is Mary eating up this man's whole? She's done just sunk herself into him, right? And Stack was just like, oh. So the Smoke was like, what the? Smoke walked up, y'all, and he's always buttoned down. He's in his vest. He pulled out and he's like to Mary because she was she stood up. Blood was like from her face, and she said, "This is Stack's blood. She done all this man's whole face. It's not what you look like." Smoke, he took care of Mary. She said, "We gonna kill her." All y'all jumped up and ran. When Annie saw that, she was like, she's some kind of hate or something. Smoke went over to his brother. You know, he's taking care of him his whole life. He picked him up. He's holding him like, nah. Oh, Lord, no. Everybody's in deep mourning. Sammy's automatically, that's my fault. I thought they were making love. And he said, don't say that. No, you don't. This is not anything anybody can do anything about. So Annie goes into taking care of everybody mode. She goes over there, Smoke, this is not natural. That's some kind of hate. You shot her and she didn't even stop. She said, we got to get his body out of here. Smoke's like, this is not a body. This is my brother. This is Stack. Nobody's taking him nowhere. Nobody's touching him. She was like, we all something going on. They close the door. Bo comes in like, oh my God. So Delta Slim comes out of the room where Smoke is in mourning for Stack. Sammy is in there shocked. Pearline is in there, her mouth's hanging open. And Delta Slim says, everybody got to go. You got to get up out of here. And Bo's like, everybody leave. And this was the best night of their life, the sharecroppers. They were like, no, we don't want to go. What's going on? And they were like, something happened, but y'all just got to get out of here. So Bo told his wife, everybody leave. And Annie saw what had happened. And Annie's like, we promised that we would, not Annie, Grace, the Asian lady. She said, we promised that we would help them, but not with this. She said, we're going to get the car and go home. Remember, they got their teenage daughter, Lisa, back at the store, back at their house. And Bo was like, we can't just leave. We're leaving. We're not going to stay here with them. And Bo was like, okay, I'll go get the car. And she made him go get the car. He didn't want to go. He was going to stay inside and help them. So Annie's giving the ground rules. If anything ever happened, y'all, listen to a Black woman. We try to tell this country, listen to a Black woman. Annie started, she went in her bag. She got garlic. She put it in some water. Annie started doing everything. Started telling everybody what they're going to do. And everybody started listening to her. So then the sad part was that all of the juke joint goers, the sharecrop people, they didn't know the gravity of it. They went outside. We see them all go outside, some walking to cars or whatever. So they're leaving. And they close the door, lock the door. Yeah, and Inez Martin too says that was a good scene. And it's just that was a sad scene. It was very sad. He was mourning his brother and didn't even have time to do that because from what Annie knew was going to start happening, it started to happen. So let me see. Okay, let me see. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so they're still at the juke joint. Annie decides, she said, she still thinks it's a haint. She said, I think it's a haint. If it's a vampire, that's even worse. Their souls get stuck in the body. They travel to Earth their whole life, and they can never see the sun again. She said, we're just gonna have to stay in here until sun up. So her, Delta Slim, Annie, there's the man that thought that he had been robbed. He's still in there. But he's laying on the floor. We didn't see him. He's laying on the floor like covered in blood or whatever. Sammy's still there. He's kind of like dazed. Smoke was still there holding his brother. But then he put Stack, they left Stack in the room and they locked the door. So then when all that was going on, the club goers were leaving. Grace made Bo go out and get the car. And then Bo ended up coming back. He come knocking on the door. And then he said, asking Delta and them, can I come in? Oh no, Cornbread came back first. He said, "Can I come in?" And he looked at him. Why? He said, I'm trying to be polite. She was like, "Yo, big ass been in and out here all day. Why are you asking permission now?" That was the thing. This is what the Indians, the Native Americans, the Choctaw had told them. Do not let him in. If you let him in, God forbid, we might can still help you, but they have to ask permission. They can't just enter your space. So there's a certain group of people that are like that. They ask first. They come nice. They come smiling. They just want to fellowship and all this. Don't let them in the first time, because they're going to come back. It's not going to be nice. Once you let them in, you don't have any sway over what happens after that. So Cornbread come knocking. He wants to come in, and he and Annie kind of get into it. He's like, "I don't even know why I'm talking to you, Miss Annie. You the reason I went out there and I had to pee, and then I had to S, and your fish and your old fish grease is the one that probably hurt my guts." So Annie get offended. "I ain't never fried nothing in no old grease." So they kind of arguing, and then Smoke and he appeals to Smoke as the man. Smoke, you gonna let her split us up and tell us what to do? And she was like, he said, "Well, yeah, I'm listening to Annie. And why are you asking to come in?" So, and he's like, "Nah, get out of here." They wouldn't let Cornbread come back in. They barred the door. And him big, he didn't bust in. He's like, "Oh, I want my money." So then he put his money out. He put his hand out for the money. And Annie was just telling Smoke, "Be careful." Smoke tried to get him in, the dollars in his hand. Cornbread tried to attack Smoke. Smoke was still stacked and still like adrenaline. He took care of him and shot them all up here. Cornbread ran off to the woods. They closed the door again. And then, y'all, they can't even get their heads together. There's a knock on the door from the inside, right? From the boom boom room. He said, "Y'all let me out." And Grace is like, "Well, how is he talking? Y'all said that he was dead." It's Stack, y'all. Stack's like, "Bro, come on, let me out. I'm in here. I'm all right. I feel much better now." So we see him. We see that the damage on his neck with Mary. But he looks like Stack. He's still got his beautiful face. He's got the same face as Smoke, but he's gone. He's got the same voice. And he's like, she said, "That's not your brother." And Slim said, that is not your brother. Slim said, he said, "I had a girl once. She was a vampire. She was light skinned. She was fine." He said, "She bit me all over my body, but she didn't bite me on my neck." Slim be talking crazy. And another thing he said, "Does anybody smell anything?" He said, I think I shat on myself." Because he's the comic relief. He's the older character and he has wisdom, but he also has comic relief. So the movie, the way Ryan Coogler did the show, I can't say enough. It's just a masterpiece because I was jumping and stuff when the vampires showed themselves. There were scenes where I laughed. There were scenes where I wish I was there. But this is another kind of touching scene between the two brothers. Stack is on the other side of that door. Smoke is right there. A knife comes through the door. He was like, "If y'all don't let me out, I'm going to lay every last one of y'all out." Now, we know the twins don't play. And he said, "This is not your brother." They open the door. Stack come out kind of talking normal, like, "Yeah, we could still be together. We could this, that, and the other." And they decide, no, Stack got to get out of here. I think he like ran out or something. No, what happened was he kind of lunged. And Annie had been getting everything together. She had garlic and water, and she threw it at him. And it said, "Shh," on his face, and he ran out the door. That's what happened. Do y'all remember that scene? Cece said, "Is this why Black people don't like people coming over uninvited and when I call them first?" I'm the same way. Cece, I believe that's what it is. There's so much in our history that we have forgotten that I hope we remember. There's a reason to certain things. And because people just don't talk about it, or like some of these church people now calling it demonic, it's not demonic. What Annie is doing with the ancestors and what's the talent that Sammy has to summon, he was using his talent. He plays for the church. He preaches in church. His father's a preacher. He knows the Bible. There was a scene where the father was preaching. He said, "I'm going to let you take over." Sammy started preaching, and then he closed the Bible and still finished what he was doing. So Sammy is protected. He knows the Bible. But then there's also a scene we find out Sammy starts quoting the scripture. Remy starts quoting right along with him. So yeah, there are certain things and reasons why we do things the way that we do them, really. So Smoke ran out and they decided to just bar the door from everybody. Then we see the guy, remember the two guys had to fight over money? Somebody supposedly stole from somebody. He's laying there like in a dead lake and he's covered in something. I don't know what it was, food or drink or whatever. But they didn't know. They pulled him outside the door. So he come knocking back on the door and they said, are we sure that was blood on him? He was like, "Nah, let me in, y'all. Let me in. Let me in." There was nothing wrong with him. They ended up putting out a club goer that was not turned or anything. And big old cornbread come running and kind of snatches him off right in front of his face. Bo comes walking up. Bo's fine, y'all. Bo's like, "I got the car. Come on, baby." And they were like, "You don't see cornbread? What's going on with him and this man?" Cornbread's all over this man in front of the thing. And then Grace is like, she wants to believe that it's Bo. She wants to believe that's her husband. And he said, "Yeah, come on, baby. I got the car. Come on." And then Annie's like, that's not your husband. So Grace wanted to go with Bo, and it's not Bo. Remick walks up. He bold now, y'all. First he was all smiling. Now he bold. He starts speaking in Chinese to Annie under her clothes. "I know what you like. I'm going to lick you. I'm doing this, that, and the other." But he's saying it in Chinese. Now the caption is telling us what he's saying. Bo was standing there just listening. So now we know that's not Bo, because Bo would have beat the hell out of him, just like Cornbread offered to beat up Stack when Stack was talking crazy in front of Trinice. It was the same thing. But this devil, he was actually speaking Chinese to Grace. And then he said, and then what I'll end up doing, I'll just go downtown and I'll go in there and meet with Lisa. So now he's threatening their child. So Grace started going crazy. They had to close the door on Bo, y'all, because that wasn't Bo. Bo walked away. Remick left. Cornbread and the guys. Now there's more people outside that turned than there's left inside. Inside, we still only have Pearline, we have Annie, we have Smoke, we have Sammy. There's like a handful of them left, y'all. He busted the door down and it fell on Sammy. Yeah, that's what happened. That part was scary when he knocked on the door. Yeah, he busted the door down and the door fell on Sammy. Because, yeah, Sammy was a step too slow now, because he was still kind of like, remember the relationship he had with Stack? That's Big Cousin, and he's the funny one too. And Smoke was more like a father figure to Stack and to Sammy. So Sammy was still kind of, he's there, and everybody wants to protect him. And more than one person told him, "Nothing's going to touch you." And Delta Slim. And he said, the devil come for me a lot of times. If he come for me tonight, he got to get through me to get to you, Sammy. He told Sammy that, and he told him that in some way, shape, or form. Even when Sammy was like just doing different things during the day, the only one to buy him liquor was Mary. Mary was the only one to buy that child. Young man, he's 18 because he was going to leave home next week. But yeah. Was it pee? And it's Martin. He could have peed on himself. I don't know. Everybody was so paranoid by then, but he was covered in something. They were like, And Annie kept saying, If she had a suspicion, she's like, She was in charge. They pulled him right on out the door. And the poor thing, when he woke up and knocked, he was like, he knew something was up, but he didn't know what. And then the other thing, I think they had checked his pockets and the money was there. Something that happened between him and that man that had that fight. And he was sliced on the face too, because he tried to jump on a man. And the robbery or whatever hadn't happened. But he ended up losing his life because everybody was under suspicion at that point. Yeah, that scene was crazy. So then Annie tells them, "These are vampires. We got to stay in here all night. We just got to make it till the sun comes up." And then she said, "I got garlic water. Everybody going to take a clove of garlic and chew it." They give the garlic to Grace. She chews it. Sammy chews it. Pearline is like, "I don't like garlic. I ain't eating no garlic." And he's like, "You're going to eat this garlic because we need to know." They thought somebody had bit the man, but they didn't. He was all right. And Smoke pulled on her. And he was like, "Eat this garlic." And Sammy spoke up to Smoke and was like, put the gun down. Don't point at her. Don't pull on her. And Smoke bust Sammy in his mouth. And he was like, "I'm trying to save your life. I'm protecting you. And don't answer back to me." Because he's wound real tight. The garlic part was funny because that's right on his mark. When now we remember Delta Slim has been drinking all day. He's been at the train station that morning. He got the Irish whiskey. When he's playing, also part of his pay was all he could drink. He's drunk. When he took that in, he started having this whole emotion, trying to keep it down, like, ooh. And Annie was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And Smoke was ready. Smoke stayed ready. He's like, so then he was like, "No, I just drank too much." So he was all right. Now, y'all, this part, for those of you who have seen it, I couldn't figure out what was going on because so much was going on. We hear from Annie that they just have to make it to daylight. And we know that about vampires. They're inside. They've not given any of those people permission to come in except Mary. Maybe I answered my own question. Y'all, the door They all get prepared. They all get wooden stakes. Annie has a scene with Smoke, and she said, these people, they live forever, but they don't feel anything. They're trapped in their body, and they never see the sun again. She said, if they get me, she said, take me out. Wooden stake to the heart. She took his hand and put it right on, and he was big breasted, y'all. She put it right, like, this is my heart. Promise me that. Smoke looked at like, I can't. I just have to happen with my brother. She's like, no, promise. He promised Annie. She's not going to be wandering around and never see the sun. She said, I got somebody waiting for me on the other side. Now that we know that's their baby, right? So he promised Annie that. And it's also foreshadowing, y'all. I wanted them to live happily ever after and have another business beside the juke joint. So they end up, they're all kind of like in place, just waiting. And it's only a few hours to daylight because they were partying until late. And then all this stuff started happening once the dancers show up, the Irish dancers or whatever you call that river dance. I would never go see that river dance mess. They used to play that commercial every 10 minutes and I couldn't stand it. Now I know why. But the door busts in and then they're under attack from all the people that had left the club. Oh, first what they were doing before that, Remick is, when Remick came to the door with Bo, he ended up and he was trying to antagonize Grace and get them to come outside. We'll just live together. Everything will be good. I forgot. Remick looked right at Sammy and he said, Sammy, I heard you. I heard you playing. He said, that summoned me. I need that. He said, I need your stories. I need your songs. Now we saw him play a perfectly fine Irish banjo, right? That's not enough. He didn't want that. He wanted what Sammy had. Remember Sammy was playing in the car and Stack was like, ah, just when you hear this boy playing, when you hear him sing, even Delta Slim, when he played with him, you look at him and like, oh my goodness, he's something special. And the devil recognized him and called him by his name. And that's every single person, even the so-called sinners were telling Sammy, he ain't gonna get you. We got you. And so don't worry about it. So Annie was telling everybody they were making steaks. They were filing things together. They had whatever. Smoke still had his guns or whatever. I don't know if they put wooden bullets. I don't know what they did. But it ended up, they were inside in position and all the club goers and people from the outside, they were out there having a party. They were out there like playing that Irish music, whatever they were playing, skipping around. Remick was doing his river dance. He was trying to do kind of like the dances that we do, but it wasn't doing it, y'all. Poor Cornbread was out there. He's with them for eternity. Bo was out there. We knew Bo had turned. Bo was out there. All of them are dancing. Pearline, they got beautiful Pearline. She's out there. So they're all trying to entice Sammy to come outside, but what they're playing, don't nobody want to join that mess, okay? I was like, oh my, gee, is he a vampire? And it's Martin O'Toole. I was the same thing. That scared me when that man got up. And then I felt sorry for him when they put him out and it wasn't him. That dance was funny as hell. It was because Remick, he thought he was doing something. And then he got this thing where he puts both feet off the ground and kind of kick underneath, kind of like a kid and play type thing, but it's kind of pitiful. So he's dancing. Anyway, this scene confused me because they were inside. They know they got to make it till daylight. They're making their weapons. They're doing the wooden stakes. And all of the people, the club goers from outside, they kind of line up in position and they just kind of rush like, and they all come in. And there are all these fight scenes. Remick is going for Sammy, but everybody is defending Sammy, meanwhile fighting everybody else. Remember, there's only like 5 people left. So poor Pearline got. She got. Let me see. Annie, poor Annie. Annie was fighting off everybody, y'all. She was fighting off everybody. Smoke was taking care of business. Remick went straight for Sammy. Nobody let Remick get Sammy. Sammy was running upstairs, and there's a scene where Smoke and Annie was telling him, just go. So Annie's fighting somebody one-on-one, and another person gets to drop on her and digs into Annie, y'all. Smoke saw that. He was like, So he's the same scene that he had with Stack. Now we got Smoke and Annie. Annie's down. All this is coming off of Annie. He's right there, like over her. All this other fighting is going on because Remick is still trying to get to Sammy, who's fighting. And he's like, no. Stack had come back in there, y'all. And Smoke said, I know I promised you I can't. And then Stack was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that to Annie. We're going to all be together. Mary with her selfish self, she had already turned Stack. So now Stack's trying to convince Smoke. Smoke take that wooden stake, y'all, and put it right where Annie told him. And as Annie, that's the end of Annie. She's meeting her child on the other side. Oh, Mary with blood still dripping down. No, oh, don't do that to Mary. Don't do that to Annie. The whole thing is her fault, y'all. So Mary's like mourning, so she can still kind of feel stuff. That was something that Annie said when Annie was still. She said, "I was hurting some of them. They were feeling it." So I don't know if it's because they were recently turned or what. But Mary and Stack were grieving over Smoke had to take out Annie. Annie didn't want to walk the earth eternally and not see the sun. So Smoke did what Annie, he fulfilled his promise to Annie. And then we see a scene where Mary leaves, Smoke and Stack start having a fight. Now they're twins, they're equal size. One is the undead, but they're both like they're fighting. Sammy is running. Delta Slim sliced his arm with a knife, and there were so many people that he started just like dripping blood. And these are new vampires, so I guess they don't know that. I don't know, maybe not everybody focused on one person, but they did. They all start going toward Delta Slim. He's giving himself up to them, and Sammy's running up the stairs and out. They're screaming, "Out!" Sammy grabbed his guitar, y'all. He jumped out the top floor from the juke. Remember I told you there's a place upstairs where you can kind of like look down on the action. Sammy jumped out the thing. Smoke just told him, keep on running. Smoke was fighting with Stack. Sammy runs into the woods. Sammy runs into past the woods. There's this lake area. It looks like a lake where you baptize people because it's just like wade in the water. So he's like, not waist deep because he has his guitar. He's holding his guitar. Here come Remick. I just want your songs. I just want your stories. I just want to be with y'all. All this kind of stuff, right? So Remick, and then Sammy's not agreeing with him. He's like, no, you the devil. And they said, our Father, which art in heaven. This is Sammy. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. And Remick, I think he can't. I don't know. He can't just kill Sammy. He said, and he's on, thy kingdom come. And Remick starts with him, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This demon, this devil, he know the scripture just like Sammy, who's a preacher's son and is protected. So that was just like, oh man, wow. He's the devil quoting the scripture, y'all. And then he also, I like what Ron Coogler did. He's giving us kind of like over talk. They're telling us what's going on. These two are reciting. And Remick is saying, yeah, people that came and forced their religion on us, they stole our land. And he said, they gave us these scriptures and they still comfort me. So that's something, y'all. This religion, a certain religion, Christianity, forces itself on other cultures. And it's just, Ryan Coogler gives you so much to think about in this movie. And we see the sun, they start to break a little bit, right? Sammy and Remick are going at each other. And Sammy still had his guitar, y'all. Sammy took the guitar with all his strength. Bow! He brought it down on Remick's head, and it ends up getting him like. And then the sun's coming up, so Remick start looking toward the sun. Sammy's still trying to get away, and the sun, vampires can't take the sun. The new vampires were caught out there. They were trying to get back or get cover. They caught out there. The sun starts just taking everybody. If you've seen any other movie before where it does that, they just dissolve into flames. So you see they're just dissolving into flames. Remick is still trying to get the last of you, trying to get Sammy. He can't get Sammy. Sammy takes like the end of the guitar and gets Remick, and that's it. And then we see him like spin and then just dissolve. So the last scene melts into the first scene, y'all. We see Sammy driving up in the car, the car that Smoke and Stack drove down from Chicago. He driving up into the car. He gets out the car in slow motion. He got this much left of his guitar, y'all. His prize guitar there's a running theme through the movie that it's, I don't know, Charlie Payton, some kind of famous blues singer. Stack had told him that he wanted in a card game. We found out later that he lied, right? We found out that he lied. But he said that was the father's guitar. I know why he lied. Their father was, they called him evil because he used to beat Stack. Stack said he hit him so hard one time, he knocked him unconscious. And after years of him doing that, Smoke ended up killing the father. And they were old enough where they left and they went, seems like they went into the military because they had a lot of combat training. Remember they mentioned the truck, always watching the truck. In addition to the beer and the wine that they had stole from the Irish and the Italians and then came back south, there was evidently They picked some of that stuff up from the army as well. They had grenade, they had automatic, not automatic. I don't know if they had automatic weapons then, but they had the ones that are like da, 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 da. They had them, and they had guns, all kind of stuff. So Smoke, Sammy goes to church. He walks in the church door like the living dead, like thank God I'm here. And the mother's like, Sammy, and the mom and the father's like, come on in, son. Come on, son. Come on, son. Sammy makes his way to the altar, and the father, the whole church is looking. You know, they don't know what's going on. I wonder if they knew a story, if they had found out that something terrible had happened at the juke joint, and that a lot of people had been, now they're missing, or maybe they were killed. I don't know what happened. But Sammy takes the altar, and the father just embraces him. Sammy's still holding that guitar, and the father's like, that's the devil. Set that devil music down. Sit it down. You're here. You home. We got you. You're safe. And Sammy's like, you know, we see him, his father just holding him. Then I like what Ryan did. He goes back to the scene. We see Smoke go back to the mill. Smoke pulls the trunk out from their truck. He's got his grenade. He got all his weapons all stuff together. Guess who pulls up bold, y'all? The sheriff, who accepted cash money for the mill, y'all. And they told this man, if you ever step foot in here, you or the Klan, that's it. I'm going to kill every last one of y'all. Here come the sheriff. And he don't come alone. He got all these truck of, some people might call them rednecks. I won't call them that. The local townspeople, right? They come pull up. They're going to take this mill back. And then this man talking about, yeah, this is not a mill. It was some type of killing floor. And now you're going to be on it. We're going to get you. And Smoke didn't ask no question. Smoke just started just mowing everybody down because they started shooting at him too. And then he ends up, when he got the sheriff had the nerve, y'all. The sheriff said, please, you know, don't kill me. Don't kill me. He laying on the ground. Don't kill me. Smoke's like, can I have a cigarette? He stepped in and said, F you, nigga. Yes, he did. Laying down, stacked on over. I mean, not stacked, it was Smoke. And he was like, so then Smoke sits down, and the sheriff sees he's wounded, right? Because we see the blood pouring out of him. He sat down. The sheriff ended up rolling a cigarette and giving it to him. So then we see Smoke sitting there. And then I like what Ryan did. He shows us, we get to see everybody whole again. We get to see when Smoke and Stack first showed up. We get to see when Sammy left church and he was just all happy-go-lucky. We saw Mary when she wasn't a vampire. We saw Annie. We got to see everybody. He just shows like old scenes, kind of like just going through everything. And Smoke is just reminiscing. He's reminiscing like your life passes in front of your eyes. And the sheriff is still laying there. He's wounded, right? But he think he's gonna outlast. All you got to do is outlast Smoke. Smoke doing his cigarette. And then we see Annie, y'all. She's dressed in white. She has white flowers in her hair. It's Wunmi Masaka. She's in Lovecraft Country. She plays Journey Smollett's sister, Ruby. She's a big, dark, beautiful woman. And she's got a white dress on. She's breastfeeding, y'all. This little chocolate angel. And Smoke is smoking. He sees him. And they make that eye contact. And she said, you put that sickie down, I'll let you hold her. Remember when she told him that she had somebody waiting for her on the other side? So she's got the baby and he can see her. Sheriff's still laying there, think he's gonna wait out Smoke, right? Smoke took his last breath, pulled up, y'all, close shot of the sheriff, just like, oh, I loved it. I love that so much, y'all. I get tired of us always, okay, I forgive you. You killed my mama, you raped my dad, I forgive you. Nah, Smoke, he sees his wife and his baby on the other end. He gonna put the cigarette down and hold his baby and hold his one. He was good, y'all. He took the sheriff out. Because how many times have y'all think that man sold that mill for cash and then ran the black people out of there, sold farmland to them and ran them off the land, burned down towns like Rosewood and Mount Bayou? Oh, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna read some of these. Okay, the dance was funny as hell. First 612 said that river dance, oh my God, it's so bad. One crafty sister, Delta Slim saving Sammy was such a sad scene. One crafty sister, it was. He gave up everything. He did. That was a power scene. It was, Inez. All the new vampires was feeling his pain also. Yes, and then Annie pointed out, she said, they feel something. Your red light made me have flashbacks of the vampires. Your lighting is reflecting on your glasses. Is it? Let me change that to blue, y'all. I didn't even think of that. Okay, let me end on a good note. Because, 1 second. I'm sorry for being out of frame. It's green, there's blue. Okay. I'd rather take blue, y'all. Okay, because I'm not superstitious, but I do have my beliefs. I believe in the ancestors, and I believe them watching us, and I believe all of that. I believe music can summon people. You've seen some people become downright demonic with certain music. So yeah, all that's true. One crafty sister says Remick wanted Sammy to join him so bad to help him lead the people to turn them into vampires. He did, one crafty sister. He didn't have it. He had the technical ability, that little Robbie had us, that mess, but it didn't move like Sammy. When Sammy started playing, people just smiling. The ladies started dancing. It's just, Sammy was special. He had something special. And his father knew it. His father referred to everything else as devil music, but his father knew what Sammy had. Inez Martin, didn't that scene remind you of Boys in the Hood when Ice Cube killed that guy? It did. Yeah, Inez. And I love how Ryan Coogler, he's such a student of past films. He really is. Yeah, because that was the guy, the Jerry Curl guy, the big one. He had been picking on them since they were kids and taking their foot. Remember he took Ricky's football that his dad gave him before he left home? And he, save me, help me. And Ice Cube was like, nah, he took him down. So I was happy about that. I was really glad. I'm glad that Ryan did that. He just held his own on that. And, they try to take a lot of that stuff out of history books. Sometimes when you hear young people saying, we're not our ancestors and all this, don't let people convince you to believe that we didn't fight back, because we did fight these people back. They just don't want that stuff in the history book, because they know they better show up as a group, a big group, and armed, because that's some cowardly stuff they were doing, y'all. Inez Martin said that was the best part. He smoked his ass. One crafty sister. Yes, he did. Right after he smoked that cigarette, he took him on out of here. So you won't be selling this meal no more to nobody. Thank you, Sharon Gabo. She says excellent commentary. Thank you so much. So that was the end. But y'all know I told you stay beyond the credits, because the credits start rolling with Sammy and the father. As the credits roll and they tell us everything, y'all, they had all kind of people. They had an intimacy consultant, because I'd always wondered about the love scenes or sex scenes. They had intimacy consultant, I guess, so nobody gets uncomfortable or anything like that. Transportation people, catering, everybody. So they listed all the names, and then we see an old man. It's Buddy Guy, the blues singer Buddy Guy. He's sitting at a bar in Chicago. We see the scratch marks on his face that Remy gave Sammy. So this is old Sammy. Sammy's like 85 years old. It's 1992. No, he's not 85. The movie was in 32. He made it to 1992. So Sammy's 80 years old. He's Buddy Guy, right? He is sitting there at the bar, and the bouncer or maybe somebody in his band says, these two people gave me a couple $100 if I let them in. Is that all right? So just the bartender, old Sammy, and the security guard. Sammy said, I don't mind at all. And he reminded me of Sammy, not just the scars, but just his whole demeanor and the sweetness. And he's not wearing like a fedora. When Sammy was young, he had like a fedora, like Stack. He's wearing a little page boy cap, right? The little page boy cap, like the Kango, like his cousin Smoke used to wear. So the two people that come in, y'all, Stack, fine, and like a Coogee sweater. It's 92. Here come Mary, sucking on a lollipop, y'all. She's pretty though. She come in, she got her little leather jacket on and her jeans, like little Lee jeans or whatever. They walk right up to Sammy and sit down on the bar. Stack looks at him. Stack got a ring that says Stack right across the muscles, right across here. And he put the couple of $100 down, and he looked at Sammy. And Sammy, remember Sammy, when they first introduced the character, he's young enough, he's always asking questions. And he said, how? Or maybe he said, why? No, he said, how? How? And Stack said, I was the one person my brother couldn't kill. Remember we saw that scene with Smoke and Stack? He said, he made me promise, I'll let you live out your whole life and I'll stay away from you. He said, but you can still, he leaned close to him and he smelled him. And he said, you don't have that long. So now we don't know if Sammy has an illness or if it's just age. He said, what do you want to do? You can have the everlasting life. And Sammy said, I've seen enough of this place. And I didn't believe him. I love that. He's going to die of old age, y'all. I can't believe he said that, but he did. I've seen enough of this place. So Stack honors Smoke, and he's not going to take out Sammy and have him walking around with him and Mary. So Mary looked at that bartender. She's had some glasses on. She put her glasses down. Her eyes were shining a little bit, and she smiled. She was pretty, but her teeth were a little sharp right here. And that bartender, he just backed up. and exit out of the scene. I didn't blame him. That's what I would have done. Looking like, okay, this movie was so good, so many lessons. Yes, Inez Martin. That's why I recommend seeing it more than once, because the first time I'm just a regular moviegoer, and then it impacted me so deeply, and I thought about it for so many days, and I was telling everybody about it, and my sister was like, you should have invited me, and I said, go with me, we're gonna go. So we went today. So yeah, it's so many lessons. Cece says that we aren't our ancestors' mess gets on my nerves. Our ancestors were strong and smart enough to survive to birth us. Thank you. Cece, yes. Especially Gen Z, they bad about that. You can't do this now. Let me tell you something. For somebody to be able to work on a farm, work with these people, that it was written in the law. You could be walking here and they there. You had to step off the sidewalk. My parents were born, mommy was 1930. My father's 1929. I told my sister, I said, they were toddlers when this movie was being made. But they used to tell us stuff like that the people would always mess with them. And they always had like fun. Like my mother's family, they had 7 girls. Her father, Loyal, they think he was from Barbados, because they used to say he spoke in a patois, whatever, and then he was really mean. But he was able to accumulate land in North Carolina. But they had it so tough. My mother and father moved to North Carolina in the 50s at different times for different reasons and met there because North Carolina was so terrible for them. Remick said he was from North Carolina, so he was wreaking havoc on somebody there. I'm back in North Carolina, surprisingly, but the things that they have done, and Black people, let me tell you something, we don't bother anybody. Now, if you bother us, you're going to have static, and we might hurt each other over love or money or whatever, but we're just not a people that go around harassing people. Kind of like when the Choctaw pulled up and offered to help, and the lady lied, she had already let the devil in, and they just left. So that's a good lesson. That's something we could learn. Okay, so I talked about the bartender leaving, looking like salt and pepper. Didn't she look like salt and pepper? I said, look at Mary. I was mad at Mary, though. What y'all think about Mary? Stack had repeatedly told her to stay away from him. She couldn't. And the first chance, she got to turn his head and then turn around and turn him into what she turned him into. And Annie said to never see the sun. I don't feel like that was her choice to make. And they thought they were going to do that to Annie. And Annie was like, nah, I'm out. I got somebody waiting for me. I'm going. Sharon Gobble said, I love Buddy Guy. He's such an excellent bluesman. Isn't he, Sharon Gobble? He's the ultimate bluesman. Just the way he was sitting there with his little voice, he'd say, how? I just loved him. He said, I had enough of this place. Inez Martin agrees with Cece. Sharon Gobble, my mother was born in North Carolina. She was, yeah, both my parents are from here. But my mother, funny enough, she had one son when she left here. She left him with my grandmother, and she had all of her children in New York, and she didn't return until she was in her 50s. She said they used to make them get off the sidewalk, all kind of stuff. Stories they would tell us. My father, he was from Durham, North Carolina. He said, I don't know if it was his girlfriend. It could have been a cousin, somebody he was just walking with. And a white boy knocked his hat off his head. And they had a fight right then. And it was good. They squashed it right then. And then later on, it was going to be something like, yeah, RD smacked this person or whatever. And it was a fight between 2 boys, and now it wasn't. And we had our uncle Robert. He died like in his 90s. I had the chance to meet him, and he was the only one with any money. But my father a ticket, and he went to New York. And my father said years later, when he came back to Durham, they got stopped by the state trooper, and the guy walks up, and he said his name, like who he was, and it was the boy he had to fight with. And if I was like, well, what you gonna do? You gonna arrest me? He was like, no, it was fair. None of that should have happened. I'm sorry about that, this and that. But yeah, they're a trip. They've wreaked havoc so long. Inez Martin, she liked that chocolate. Inez Martin, she kept it for eternity, didn't she? That man said he's never gonna see the sun again. She said why she loved him. Cece says, my maternal grandmother was born in 1960 and passed in 2016. Her father was born into slavery, but it ended when he was young. He served in the Spanish-American War, went to school, and bought land. Thank you. Yes, Cece. And we will survive. We always have. We always have. So if you have not seen this movie, please go and see it. If you've seen it, watch it again. You're going to catch stuff that you didn't catch before. I'm going to go take a shower because I put my heat on, but it's hot outside. So I'm sorry, everybody. Thank you for talking about the movie with me. I could not wait to see it again and to talk about it. It is amazing. This is Sinners by Ryan Coogler. It is record setting. I don't care if they talk about award winning or any of that. He doesn't need to receive any of the stuff that those people give, because we know that it is a masterpiece. He wrote it. The representation is real representation. There are Chinese people that were in the Delta in 1932. I looked it up. Because some Latino on TikTok, why didn't we get in there? You're not going to be everywhere we are. Stop that. And we need to stop doing that too. People just are knocking. Don't let them in. Okay. Thank you, Inez Martin. Thank you so much. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. This is my longest live. So thank you for your time that you spent with me. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining Sandra P's Gen Xtra. Bye.